So we are now coming to the last few sentences of the canto and of the what I would call the prolegomenon of Savitri. Yeah, prolegomenon of Savitri. Prolegomenon, it means that it is the kind of an introduction, preface, giving the background of the whole thing. First two cantos, the symbol dawn and the issue from the prolegomenon of Savitri. So we are coming close to that thing. Section-2 starts with that, give the general background, the basis of the whole thing, and then the narrative unfolds from that point onward. From Canto 3 onward, the narrative begins from that onward, you see. Now, as I have been also suggesting, this description of these two cantos, although it is the book of the beginning, that book of the beginning is in the transcendent. It is all that is happening, all that is being worked out there, and things are going to get unfolded here in the future. In her, the superhuman cast its seed. Yes, there are difficulties, there are issues and all that thing, but in her, the superhuman. So it is actually something, already something coming from a very, very high source, and he has definitely cast the seed. Now this seed is not going to get wasted. It will sprout, it will spring up, it will flower, it will give fruits and all that, you see. So this is a very powerful kind of a seed now. Now because this is a seed which has been cast by the superhuman, Savitri is incapable, she is inept to kind of compromise with things which are around here. Yes, the mandate, the issue, the mission has already come from a very high source, and therefore she is also ready in all her possibilities, inept to fold its mighty wings of dream. Her spirit, well, it starts with her spirit, but actually it is Savitri herself as a total. Refused to hug, etc., etc. Her spirit inept to fold. Now therefore, what are the mighty wings of dream of the spirit of Savitri? What are the wings of Savitri? Mighty wings of dream. She is carrying dreams, and on those wings she is flying to the very high sky, you see. Now that is of course connected because something is given to her by the superhuman, and therefore these mighty wings of dream. What are the dreams Savitri is having? Or what kind of fruits is the seed going to bear? You see, mighty wings of dream, they are not ordinary dreams, common dreams, childish dreams. They are transformative dreams. They are dreams which will bring about divine realizations, dreams which will make the possibilities of the divine enter into manifestation. These are the dreams she is having, and it is on those wings she is flying high up, you see. These are the dreams on which she is flying here, you see. And obviously, because she is already carrying those dreams, she is inept to adjust herself with all the small little things here and all that thing, you see. She, as if it has already been taken care of. Inept to fold its mighty wings of dream, inept to compound with earth, inept to quench God-given light. She cannot quench God-given light. She cannot compromise with the little aspects of mortality, of earth, of ignorance and that kind of a thing. She is inept to that thing, and therefore those mighty wings of dream will have their own meaning and all that. Accustomed to the eternal and the true, because she is already one who belongs to something else, somebody else, accustomed to the eternal and the true. Her being conscious of its divine founds, her source, her origin, is in the high spirit itself, in the transcendent itself, in the divine. She is already the incarnate force working here. See, the poet is telling us repeatedly that look, the Savitri is not a human Savitri. She has come specially for a certain kind of a work to do here. See, her being conscious of his divine form, ask not from mortal frailty, pains relief, pass not with failure, bargain or compromise. See, obviously, a work she had to do, a word to speak. She is a mission child. She has come with a task. She has an assignment to carry out here in this creation, and she must do all that things. Writing the unfinished story of her soul. Unfinished story of her soul. She has to continue to write the story of her soul. She has been writing through the eons, through yugas, through the kalpas. She has been carrying on her work and writing in the form of a diary her story. But that story has to now come to a completion. It has to become a finished story. And a moment has come now for that story to get the finishing touches, the finalized draft of the whole thing. It's an unfinished story of her soul. What is the story of her soul? Savitri's work is the work of opening out the ways of immortality into the mortal world. To you, the ways of immortality in the mortal world. That is her work. That is the task with which she is engaged. Now, we have already seen in one of the letters of Section-2 that the story of Savitri, the tale of Savitri, a tale of Satyavan and Savitri, although it is recited in the Mahabharata, it originally belongs to the Vedic cycle. It belongs to the Vedic cycle. In other words, what was started as a story in the Vedic cycle, that story had remained incomplete, and now Savitri has come to complete the story of the Vedic cycle. How is she going to complete that thing? By writing an epic, Savitri itself. By writing the story of Savitri itself as an epic. The story began during the Vedic cycle. And now the story has to become a complete story. It has to reach the final form completely, you see. That moment has come. Unfinished story of her soul. In other words, through these long eons, Savitri's soul is constantly growing, is constantly progressing to bring the story to a finishing point, to the long ages, you see. Writing the unfinished story of her soul in thoughts and actions graved in nature's books. That story to be enacted in nature itself, in the physical world itself here, in the material world itself here. She accepted not to close the luminous space. Luminous space. Yes, the story which she had written during the Vedic time, that's a luminous space. But that is not going to be the complete part of it. She is not going to stop with that. She has to continue further. The search for immortality, for freedom, for God, for light, which is there as a part of the Vedic pursuit, now has to go further. The immortal has come in the mortal. We have got the divine Agni present within us. The immortal, the divine himself, the immanent divine himself is present here. Now, that is the Vedic beginning of the story. The gods persuaded Agni to go inward. The gods persuaded Agni to go inward. go into the material depths and do the work there. Without the persuasion of the gods, Agni would not have gone. That also means that Agni needs persuasion to go inward. Only when the gods persuaded Agni, he enters into the inner world, into the inner cave, into matter. Now, why does he need persuasion? Agni is a person, is a being, is a god who is knowledgeable of things himself. Then what does he need? A prompting from the gods that they should tell him to go inward. They should tell him to go inward. Obviously, because the inward work is not the work of Agni alone. It is the work of all the gods. Agni will take the lead. Agni will take the initiative, carry out the work. He will be the traveler of the journey. He will grow from birth to birth. He will grow, but he also needs all the help, the support, the power, the guidance, the light of all the gods for doing that inward work. So therefore, it is not just a persuasion by the gods that Agni has to go in, it is the participation of all the gods that this work is being done. Now, Agni has entered into matter and the urge to immortality has started growing up. The aspiration, the flame of aspiration has been kindled, the spark has been growing. Now, that is the first luminous page of the story. But Savitri says, no, that is not enough for me. Agni has come here, he has kindled the flame, and things are happening here, but that is not enough. Now, what should really happen is that divine splendor itself should reside in this mortal world, should manifest itself in this mortal world, and that luminous page has to be completed by this one. So, Savitri's new page is in fact not from mortality to immortality, but from immortality changing this mortality, of this falsehood changing into truth, of this pain and suffering changing into bliss and ecstasy. This is the kind of work she has to do. So the luminous place is all right, they have achieved, the Vedic rishis, Vedic gods, they have done something wonderful, but Savitri is not going to stop with that. Savitri's work now actually begins from that point onward. It begins from that point onward. She accepted not to close the luminous page, cancel her karmas with eternity. She is not going to do, of course, or set the signature of weak asset. Okay, let it be low. No. To the brute balance of worlds exchange, a force in her toiled since earth was made. Since earth was made, the divine force is there in her. Savitri has been there. The mother has very explicitly stated, since the beginning of the earth, whenever and wherever there was a possibility of the ray of manifestation, I was present. Since the beginning of the earth, since earth was made. Now, of course, earth was made. We have already seen in the very first canto itself the hint of that. Earth was made. Savitri is seeing three disputants born of inconscience. Savitri is saying three disputants born of inconscience. Three disputants: earth, doom, love. Three ancient disputants: earth, doom, and love. Three ancient disputants, you see. Now, it is at that point earth was made. Earth was created as a specific center for focusing the aspects of manifestation in a definite manner, you see. A force in her that toiled since earth was made, accomplishing in life the great world plan. Now that force, that is what it has been doing all along. Your plan, it is working out that thing. Pursuing after death, immortal aim. Yes, that is what the force has been working all along, pursuing after death. Whether you are here or not, you are pursuing, you are chasing, you are following, you are insisting that those things do happen here. What? Those immortal aim. Immortal aim, light, power, beauty, joy, happiness, sweetness, harmony, all those things which are the immortal things, they have to come into manifestation, and they are being pursued whether you are in death or without death. They have to come here, you see. Actually, normally, in the case of we beings, these great things do not happen in our case after death. Our progress completely stops after death. No addition is made. Whatever you have gained in life here, that is your property, that is your merit, that is your punya, that you hold on, that is your good, that you hold on. But after death, you can't add to that. You don't, you cannot. Because the working ground here is on earth, not elsewhere. The working ground here is on earth, you see. So all that has to happen only on earth. So normally in all our cases, after death, there is no progress at all. What happens after death? We assimilate all the experiences of our past birth, gather it together, and depending upon our assimilation of those things, we decide to take a new birth for further progress. We come back here for further progress, you see. We come here again for the progress. Now, that is what happens normally. But here, in the case of persons like Savitri and all that, death or life, they are not bound by that. Their work continues. Their work continues. Section-2 has withdrawn. It does not mean that his work has stopped. Krishna was a figure of long history. It does not mean that his work has stopped. The work continues, goes on in their own manner, you see. Their work continues there, you see. Because they are not people who die. They change the station. They change their position. There is no question of death for them. You see. They change their position. Mother's work goes on. And mother says, after his withdrawal, Section-2's work has become so active, so dynamic, that in a short time he could do so many things which he could not do otherwise here in the physical. Pursuing after death immortal aims. Now, pursuing after death, now, yes.
Can you repeat? Immortal aims.
Pardon me?
What kind of immortal aims?
What kind of immortal aims?
Joy.
Everything.
Harmony.
Happy, harmony, joy, bliss, power, light, the sweetness, the truth. Those had to come into our expression. Beauty, truth, delight. They have to come into our expression, you see. The multiplicity of a new creation in the possibilities of the spirit that goes and grows and grows, you see. It does not remain static, you see. Pursuing after death immortal aim. Now, from the point of view of English, there is a little different aspect also. Pursuing after death immortal aims. In words, she is pursuing immortal aims after death. Now, it could also be that she is pursuing after death, chasing death. She is chasing death, pursuing death. She is after death, pursuing death. chasing death. For what? For immortal aims. For immortal aims. So, that may be a little far-fetched, you see. Still, it is possible. Still, it is possible to think that way. Refuse to admit frustration's barren role, because it is a seed cast by the superhuman, because she is inept, etc., etc. She will repute, push aside, refuse to admit frustration's barren rule. Very beautiful line. Refuse to admit frustration's barren. This word refuse is a very unusual word. Refused, common thing. The closest form of that thing, repugnant, pushing aside, you see. Refuse to admit frustration's barren role. Now, how do you scan it? Repute, that is an am, to admit, to admit, and a pest, sorry, to add, I am, with frustrations, and a pest, barren, I am, role, I am. This is how you scan it, you see. Refuse to admit frustrations, barren role, forfeit the meaning of her birth in time. Yes, she is not going to forfeit the meaning of her birth in time. She has taken birth in time for a purpose, and she has to fulfill that purpose. Obey the government to the casual fact, or yield her high destiny up to passing chance. In her own self, she found her high recourse. In spite of all these things, where does she get strength from? From within herself. From within herself. In her own self, she found her high recourse. In spite of all these things, she is going to get all the nourishment detail. She matched with the iron law, a sovereign right, iron law, the fixed law of nature here, the law of death here, the law of ignorance and fate here. That law, iron law, of course, stands here for law of death. One shall descend and change the iron law. That is the boon Savitri had received. One shall descend and change the iron law. A single will oppose the cosmic rule. All the cosmic forces, universal powers which are there, she is able to stand against them. Her single will, because it is something which is coming from a very high soul. Superhuman cause is seen in her. That force is there. A force has been working in her since the beginning of the earth, and that work is there. To stay the wheels of doom, this greatness rose. Greatness, of course, stands here obviously for Savitri, but she is saying greatness. Why? Because she is going to stand against all that will be opposing the cosmic rule. To fight out the cosmic rule, to meet the iron law, you have to be really great. You have to be really mighty. Your will has to be very strong and powerful. And therefore, this greatness. See how aptly the nouns are selected. She is this greatness because she has to meet, she has to oppose the cosmic rule. She has to fight, match the iron law, you see. To stay the wheels of doom, this Kala Chakra, wheel of doom, the cycles of birth and death which continue to go on, that is the wheel, cycles of birth and to stay them at the unseen knock upon the hidden gates. Her strength made greater by the lightning's touch, awoke from slumber in her heart's recess. Answer is no. Her strength, where from did it come? Yes, she has to meet doom. She has to face the cosmic rule. She has to match against the iron law. Where is that strength coming from? Greater from the lightning star, awoke from slumber in her heart's recess. In her slumber, in her heart's recess. That strength had been always with her. But it was a slumbering strength. Actually, in the first canto we had, Savitri lay for a long, long time in her original somnolence. For a long period of time she lay in her original somnolence. She had been here right from the beginning, but in a somnolent state. Original somnolence itself was the earth. Now it is out of that, her strength made greater by the lightning's touch. What is the lightning's touch? That has awoken her, Savitri. Brought her to this kind of an alertness that now she has to do some work. What is that lightning's touch? That lightning's touch is the death of Satyavan, of her lover. She has now to see anything, everything in that context. And the strength suddenly sprang up from within her, you see. It was there all along, right from the beginning in her, but she lay in the state of original somnolence, and from slumber in her heart's recesses. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. You see, that is the monosyllabic line. You see, perfectly Arabic. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. See, monosyllabic stress is there everywhere, and what a powerful description, which kills and saves. What is that it? Who bore that stroke? Strength. Strength. Her strength bore that, you see. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. Now, which kills, all that comes in the way of your work, it is that which is destroyed. It is that which is destroyed. And when that is destroyed, then it brings the grace of saving. The grace is saved. When that is destroyed, then really there is the grace, there is the safety of everything, there is the progress possible from that. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. That D, T is capital T here, you see. It is stroke of that, the supreme stroke. In other words, that blow Savitri is receiving from that. Savitri is receiving that blow from that. Who is giving that blow to Savitri? The Supreme Himself. The Supreme Himself. What is that blow? That blow is Savitri. Tomorrow your husband could die. That is the blow. And suddenly she wakes up from her slumber, she does yoga, gathers the yogic force in her soul and gets ready. So it has killed what was until now coming as an opposition in her and saved by bringing down that force in her soul itself, you see. Awoke from slumber in her heart's recess. It bore the stroke of that which kills and saves. Across the awful march, no eye can see, Barring the dreadful root, no will can change. Much no eye can see. We don't know what is the future in front of us. Barring the dreadful root, no will can change. Because the stroke is there, that blow is, it is going to work in its own way. She faced the engines of the universe, all the workings of the laws, all the machinations of this universe, of fate, ignorance, time, all those things, destiny, she has to meet them. She faced the engines of the universe. A heart stood in the way of the driving wheels. The driving wheels, all the laws of nature, all the conventions of this creation. Her heart is standing in their way. That heart is not going to allow that wheel to move further. Its giant workings pass in front of her mind. Its giant working. Its star conventions with the flame of his soul. Its giant workings, its star conventions of the driving wheel. The giant workings of the driving wheel, the star conventions of the driving wheel, paused in front of a mind, met the flame of a soul. They are meeting the flame of a soul, Savitri. Paused in front of a mind, Savitri's mind. So the driving wheels, its workings, its conventions, they are now meeting Savitri's heart, Savitri's mind, Savitri's soul. She faced the engines. So that is a kind of a description of how she is facing the engines. Her heart is there, her mind is there, her soul is there. One Savitri is now there. When she is now ready to meet the challenge, then it is as though she has got now a hold on things by which she can make things go the way she would like them to go. Leverage, she caught the hold of a lever, and by operating that lever, she can bring about whatever change she wants to bring. What is that lever? A magic leverage. Suddenly is caught that moves the veiled ineffable's timeless will. So she has now in her hand the leverage of the ineffable's will. And she is going to operate that leverage in the context of all these challenges she is going to meet here, you see. Across the awful mass, no eye can see. Barring the dreadful root, no will can change. She faced the engines of the universe, So all the cosmic forces are there. It is not, Savitri is not fighting for her, the battle for her person alone. She is fighting it for the world, for the creation, for the universe. It is a cosmic problem she is going to tackle, you see. A heart stood, a mind was there, a flame of soul is there, you see. And then with that, she has in her hand now the lever, and she can operate the lever suddenly. A magic leverage suddenly is caught that moved, veiled in fables, timeless will. Suddenly is caught. Well, in a way it is not sudden, and in a way it is sudden also. It is not sudden because she has been doing her work through the ages and ages and ages. But now the suddenness has come because she is going to bear the stroke of that. The blow of that she has to bear. And it is that blow which brings suddenness. What is that blow? Savitri, tomorrow your husband will die. That is the blow. And suddenly Savitri awakes to her strength, you see. a magic leverage suddenly is got. So this suddenly is not really sudden. It is connected with that. See, that move the well ineffable's timeless will. And what is that leverage? That leverage is a prayer, a master act. A king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. Well, this is a very famous line. People keep on quoting it everywhere. So when there is a real issue involved, when there is a question of achieving something definitely, you have to hold on a leverage, and that leverage is a prayer, a master act, a king idea. Prayer, bhakti, devotion. Master act, karma, work. Idea, king idea, jnana. So, it is bhakti, karma, or jnana. You catch hold of them, and in that process, man's strength is linked to the transcendent force. You are not there working with your own force. You are working now with the transcendent force. When this becomes really powerful, when it becomes operative, then you are linked up with the transcendent force. Now, normally, everybody considers that any one of them is sufficient. Bhakti is a good leverage. Karma Yoga is a good leverage. Jnana Yoga is a good leverage. And you follow the path of Jnana Yoga, you have the hold on it, and it can link you to the transcendent force. If you follow the Karma Yoga, you have the leverage in your hand, and the transcendent force starts working with you. If you are a good devotee, bhakta, then you have a leverage in your hand, and it can connect you to the transcendent force. Now, it is not really that simplistic. It is not just like that. The English here is a very powerful English, very beautiful English, and very creative English. The poet does not say a prayer or a master act or a king idea. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say a prayer or a master act or a king idea. He says a prayer. A prayer by itself is a master act. A prayer by itself is a king idea. And when you have that kind of a prayer which is a master act and a king idea, then that prayer can link you to the transcendent force. Or else, a master act, your karma itself, karma when you are doing work, that itself is a devotion. That itself gives you knowledge, idea. So, a master act itself is a prayer and a king idea. Same way, king idea, you have a lofty idea, that itself is a expression of devotion, of bhakti. That itself is a work being done. In other words, in this line, we have got the complete synthesis, not divisive aspects of the three, but the three acting, one leading to the other. Maybe I will start with bhakti, but then it must lead me to master act and king idea. Then only my bhakti becomes full and powerful, and so on. See, it has to go on like that, you see. It has to go on like that, you see. So, I would rather interpret it that way. In other words, this line is the first integral yoga where all the three yogas are brought together as a single element. The first integral yoga. What does that integral yoga do? The best that integral yoga can do is to link you with the transcendent force. So I will say that this is the integral yoga of the Gita, where you got these three elements coming together, and the integral yoga of the Gita can link your strength to the transcendent force. It can link your force, your strength to the transcendent force. That is the merit, that is the quality, that is the gain of the yoga of the Gita. That is the gain of the yoga of the Gita, you see. Now, beyond that, if there are other things, that is a separate issue altogether. But that is not the point of concern here. The point of concern here, if I am concerned about the transcendent force, the Gita's yoga is sufficient for me. The Gita's yoga is sufficient for me. And then, once I am connected with the transcendent force will take care of everything, you see. So, here we have got the synthesis of the Gita's yoga and the siddhi of the Gita's yoga of your strength getting linked up with a transcendent force. That is the siddhi, that is the realization of the Gita's yoga. A magic leverage, that is the leverage you have. Now, obviously, for the purposes of Savitri's work at this point, she is concerned only with the transcendent force. She is concerned only with the transcendent. Let the transcendent force come and work in me and do my work. The rest will follow later on. Therefore, for that kind of a work at this moment, for her, the Gita's triple yoga is sufficient. Devotion, which is also karma, which is also jnana, and so on, you see. Bhakti, which is karma, which is also jnana, and so on. It is sufficient at this point of time, you see. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. What a powerful line this one, you see. This is, of course, in the context of Savitri's issue. Tomorrow, Savitri is going to meet death. She has to gather force. The force which is there in her, the strength which is there in her, it was lying in a state of slumber. It has to wake up and get ready to meet the challenge, you see. And Savitri has to commit herself to do this yoga, triple yoga. She must, with great aspiration and intensity, approach the Divine Goddess. She must be ready to do the work of the Divine Goddess when it comes in her act. She must do all that thing with a full understanding of the scheme of the entire nature of things. All these things, she must have those things in her possession. Then only her work proceeds further, you see. A prayer, a master act, a king idea becomes fruitful at that point of time in the case of Savitri, you see. Now, so Savitri has come to that point, but these two lines are actually a statement what Shivendu had realized in Alipur jail in 1908. In 1908, Shivendu was clueless how to proceed. He had no clue at all how to proceed further. He knew that something had got to be done, etc., all that, but he had no clue of how to proceed further. He had no magic leverage in his possession to get the clue of things, you see. But then suddenly, something happened suddenly. Something happened suddenly. He is put in the jail. And he has got all the knowledge, he has got the marriage clue. Suddenly it happened, you see. Until then he was totally clueless, you see. Suddenly something has happened now, and he has got the leverage in hand. What is the leverage he has got? A prayer, a master act-taking idea, linking his strength to the transcendent force. That is the leverage he got in Alipur jail around August 1908 or so, when he had the Vasudeva experience very fair. In fact, as I said earlier, he had two major experiences in 1908 of the passive Brahman and the active Brahman. Active Brahman in the jail, passive Brahman in Baroda around 1st January 1908, you see. Now, because he was clueless, he got now the leverage, and it came suddenly because he was in the jail. Until then he had no idea at all so far, you see. And there he says, when I was not knowing anything, then the Gita was put in my hand. The Gita was put in my hand, and I started following the Gita's yoga. What is the Gita's yoga? This triple aspect of the Gita's yoga, which can link your strength to the transcendent force. The Gita was put in my hand, you see. So that is the power of the Gita's yoga. And it is all right up to a certain point in the context of your spiritual progress. But now things had to go beyond the Gita's yoga, which is a separate story altogether. That separate story is the new story which Savitri has to write, her unfinished story. That Savitri has to write a new story. After she is going to write that new story, after doing this yoga, this triple yoga of the Gita. It is not, I am insisting on triple yoga. It is not this or that or that. It is a triple, all put together as one single entity, you see. When that is achieved, then Savitri's new story begins, you see. Unfinished story begins, you see. A magic leverage is suddenly caught that moved the veiled ineffable's timeless will. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. Obviously, then a miracle is made a common rule. That is exactly what happened in the case of Section-2. The moment he started following the Gita's yoga, things started happening in a totally different way, beyond anybody's imagination, beyond anybody's comprehension. Then miracle, yes, they all look miracle to us, but they are now being worked out by somebody else. One mighty deed can change the course of things. One mighty deed can change the course of things. A lowly thought becomes omnipotent. What is that mighty deed? One mighty deed. The triple yoga linking transcendent force. That is one mighty deed. A lowly thought becomes omnipotent. All now seems nature's master machinery. So in contrast with that, what is all this? Nature's machinery, you see, nothing. You see. An endless servitude to material rule and long determination, a rigid chain, her firm and chainless habits, aping law, her firm nature's chainless habits and aping law. She keeps on copying, you see. her empire of unconscious depth divine annul the claim of man's free human will. That is what nature is doing all the while. We are not able to develop our own free will. Yeah.
Can you repeat what is the mighty? What is the mighty deed?
One mighty deed of catching that leverage.
What is it? You said something.
Can
But
link man's strength. This is a mighty deed.
Catching that leverage. That's the mighty deed. No, see, then miracle is made. They come and see what appears to us as a miracle. It's not really a miracle because it is something. See, Shaman, the way the court case went on, you take the historical fact itself. How it happened, it's a miracle. But it's not really a miracle. It started getting worked out in that manner. One mighty deed. What is that mighty deed? That he got the leverage in his hand and went by that mighty deed of accepting the Gita's yoga, by following the Gita's yoga. Shivananda says, I was following the Gita's yoga, and that brought the transcendent force in his possession. That is mighty deed. A lowly thought becomes omnipotent. All now seems nature's mass machinery, an endless servitude to material rule, and long determination's rigid chain, her firm and chainless habits aping long, her empire of unconscious depth divine. Her stands, of course, for nature. Depth divine, annul the claim of man's free human will. He too is a machine. He, man, is a machine. Machine. Keeps on doing mechanically things, you see. Yeah, we think we have got a free will, but we really don't have free will at all. We don't have the free will comes only when you are free of nature, free of external nature, free of your ego sense. When only that goes away, then your free will comes into existence. Until then, there is no free will at all. You see. A piston brain pumps out the shapes of thought. Well, that is how it keeps on. You keep on manufacturing thoughts and ideas. Mental manufacture. You see. A beating heart cuts out emotions more. Well, this is what man is. You see. An insentient energy fabricates the soul. An insentient energy which has no sensitivity at all. Fabricates a soul. Now, this soul is not the soul we normally think of. It's not that. English soul is a very difficult word, you see, soul. You see. This soul is the surface soul, the ego soul. We say, what a poor soul this fellow, you see that. And instant energy fabricates a soul. Or the figure of the world reveals the sign of a tight chance repeating her own steps in circles around matter's binding pole. A random series of inept events. So all appears to us random, scattered, without any connection anywhere at all, to which reason lends elusive sense. Yeah, then we start connecting, this happened like that, that happened, but that is also an illusion by itself. We try to rationalize all the things which have happened, but then that itself is fooling ourselves in a certain sense, you see, is here. Or the empiric life's instinctive search, empiric based on experience, instinctive search, or a vast ignorant mind, colossal work. Now he is giving some example, a random series of inept events to which reason lends elusive sense, or either that or the empiric life's instinctive search. What is here? An empiric life. What is here? Vast ignorant mind's colossal work. A random series of inept events to which reason lends is here. That is here, the series is here. Or the empiric life's instinctive search. But, well, so there is really no knowledge as long as we live in a surface soul. We are tied to the binding post of matter. Now, in circles around matter's binding post, around matter's binding post. That is what we are. We are tied by the laws of matter. Actually, in the Rig Veda, there is a description of the sacrifice of a rishi, Sunashepa. His name is Sunashepa. He is tied to a post with a triple cord, and then a sacrifice is performed on him. Binding post, he is tied, the rishi. Now, that is of course very symbolic. He is tied to a post, and then the sacrifice is performed. Otherwise, he cannot burn there, you see, sacrifice. Yajna, Ahuti, he is thrown into the flame, you see. Huh?
Cannot run away.
Well, it is of course a way of speaking, it's a language, it's a very powerful, very beautiful language, a daring language also. He is tied to a post. In other words, man, the seeker, the person who is in search of spiritual truth in the right earnestness, he is bound by the triple cord of lower nature, the mental, the vital, the physical. He is bound, and unless you burn those cords, you burn yourself from those things, you cannot become free. You cannot become free. So that is the sacrifice of Sunashepa, binding post, a random series of inept events to which reason lends elusive sense is here, or the empiric life instinct serves, or a vast ignorant mind, colossal world. But wisdom comes. So that is always a assuring word. In fact, that is the style of Savitri. He will give all the negative descriptions, and then he will suddenly say, wait, there is something better, something good also present here. But wisdom comes in spite of all that thing. And vision grows within. Then nature's instrument crowns himself her king, himself. Man, her king, he becomes her master. He becomes her master, her king. He feels his witnessing self and conscious power. Now he has come to the witnessing self. Witnessing self, Sakshi Purusha. Sakshi Purusha. And conscious power, obviously, Chaitya Purusha. He feels his witnessing self and see, until now it was a fabricated soul. Until now it was a fabricated soul. But now it is a witness self, you see. His soul steps back and sees the light supreme. So all that passing show which is there, the soul stands away like a sakshi, like a witness man, standing back and seeing the whole thing again. And what is it? His soul steps back and sees the light supreme. Is behind all that, there is the supreme's light. A goddess stands behind a brute machine. That brute machine which he has described just now, behind all that machinery, the universal law which is there, behind that universal law, who is standing? The Godhead himself, the Supreme himself is there. He is not going to disown the responsibility of this law. He is there. Yes, I have done it for a purpose. I have done it for the purpose. This truth broken in a triumph of fire. This truth. What is this truth? This truth. What is this truth? That behind this universal machinery which is mechanical, there is the Godhead standing and doing things. There is the Godhead himself is standing behind all that. It is that truth which has broken in. Broken in what? In a triumph of fire. In a triumph of fire. What a line. This truth, you see, the line is, this truth, I am broken, rocky, in a Pyrrhic triumph, rocky, of fire, I am. What a beautiful rhythm, you see. This truth broken in the triumph of fire. And see the rhythm also. See, here you have got fire, you have got off, you have got F here, alliteration, and then of course there is everywhere R, 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 alliterations, you see. This truth broken in the triumph of fire. And in addition to that, T and T. What a rich line this one, you see, in terms of sound of the words, you see. This truth broken in a triumph of fire. A victory was won for God in man. The deity revealed His hidden face. This Godhead is standing now unconcealed. He is standing in front of you. Yes. So Savitri sees now the entire panorama. Who is behind all the scene? He is there. She has got that vision now. So that is the power of the magic leverage, you see. She has gone all the way up to see the meaning, the purpose behind the whole thing. That after all this creation, this work, although it looks to you this, that, bad, good, etc., but there is the Godhead behind all that. There is the Godhead behind all that, you see. This truth broken in the triumph of fire. A victory was won for God in man. Now, lucky, it is a victory for God. Not for man. It's a victory for God, not for man. But one for man, that's a different thing. One in man, that is the important thing. In man, it has to be one in man. That is the greatness of Savitri's work. In other words, the aspect of Savitri's unfinished story is in the winning of this victory of God in man. In man. That is the aspect of her unfinished story. In man, you see. The deity revealed His hidden face. Well, He has been concealing. God stands behind, He was standing behind, now He is coming out. You see. Revealed His hidden face. Actually, okay, we'll see that. This truth broken in a triumph of fire, a victory was won for God and man. The deity revealed His hidden face. The deity revealed His hidden face. We have seen in the dialogue with death in book 10 to the end, Savitri and Yama, they are kind of arguing constantly. And Yama tells Savitri, because you are coming here in front of me, I assume a name, a face to meet you. I have taken a name and a face to meet you here, you see. The shadow being has assumed a name and I am here, you see. In other words, he is otherwise without name, without shape, without form. He is a void, being of void, you see. But I assumed, I come out of it to meet you here in person like that, you see. Now, when in the course of that dialogue, in the course of their exchange of arguments, a point comes when Yama asks Savitri, but tell me who you are. You are talking something which is absolutely extraordinary. Tell me who you are. Is the Divine Mother standing behind you? Is she there with you? Is she there with you? And if she is there with you, show me her face to me. Show her face to me, you see. Reveal her to me so that I will go and worship her. I will go and worship her. That is the kind of a transformation which had come. The deity revealed his hidden face behind that thing, you see, at that point, you see. And then Savitri suddenly undergoes a transformation, and during the rush of the divine person, divine Durga, in this physical Savitri standing in front of Yama, and she is a different person altogether. And then she says, I hail thee, O Almighty Death. Be still my instrument. That is what she says, you see, and goes on, you see, be still my instrument, you see. Reveal his hidden face. So at that time, she is revealing her hidden face. The deity revealed hidden face. The great World Mother, now in her arose. This is exactly the description which I got in the book of death, you see. Sorry, in the dialogue with death, you see. He has already brought it here in front, you see. The great World Mother, the Divine Durga is there now in her. A living choice reversed, face cold, dead turn. Obviously, a living choice here now, a dynamic, powerful presence is here, going to work here. And that is going to change all the old laws, change completely. A living choice, reverse, face cold, dead turn. Everything is gone. Affirm the spirit straight on circumstance. Press back the senseless dire, a revolving wheel. Press back the wheel of doom. This is what we got. Earth and doom and love. The wheel of doom. Press back because of that thing. Press back the senseless dire revolving wheel and stopped the mute march of necessity. So he has already brought in this sentence what you are going to see in book 10, you see. The deity revealed hidden fame. The great World Mother now in her arose. So Savitri is no more that Savitri now. It is the divine Durga herself who is standing now there, a living joy. And then what happened? A flaming warrior. She is now a warrior. Durga is a warrior queen. She is a warrior queen. Bright, golden, beautiful, flaming, full of energy, full of strength and thrill. A flaming warrior from the eternal peace. Again from the eternal peace. You see, everything is happening from such a high source. From the eternal peace. Empowered to force the door, denied and closed. So the doors have been denied and closed so far. Smote from death's visage is dumb, absolute. On the face of death, death had put on a mask, he had assumed a form there. Now that mask has been removed completely by this flaming warrior. In other words, what this divine Durga has done, he has not killed Yama. She cannot kill Yama because Yama is an immortal. She can transform him into what he really is. What he really is, you see. Empowered to force the door, denied and closed, smote from death's visage, a dumb absolute. The void, the inconscience which he has used as a mask, it is that mask is totally removed away. Smote from death's visage is dumb, absolute, and by the bounds of consciousness and time. And by the bounds of consciousness and time, and burst the bound of consciousness and time. Smoke from this visage the dumb absolute, and burn the bounds of consciousness and time. The new time has opened out. New consciousness has dawned, which has no bounds, which will keep on growing. Empowered to forge the door tonight and close, smoke from this visage the dumb absolute, and burn the bounds of consciousness and time. What a line this one is. A flaming warrior from the eternal peace. So she is really coming from a very high source, from the eternal peace. Empowered to force. Empowered to force. She has now. Who has empowered her? The Supreme Himself. It is with the sanction of the Supreme, with the sankalpa, in the will of the Supreme, that she is standing here on the battlefield, empowered by the Supreme Himself. Without that, she can't do anything at all. She needs this sanction, yes, of the Supreme. Empowered to forge the door, denied and closed, smote from death's visage, the dumb absolute. Death's visage, the face of falsehood which is there on this creation, it is that falsehood which has gone away. It is death who is the cause of falsehood. Death who is the cause of falsehood. And when that death is removed, is no more on the scene, then obviously there is no support, there is no basis for falsehood to be there. Its basis knocked off, so it is no more existing at all, you see. It is that which has gone away. So when the falsehood is not there, then what remains? Only truth. Only truth. What remains then? Only Satyavan. And things start moving. Satyavan. The one who carries truth. Satyavan. It is he who carries them. So the moment Savitri comes to this point, then it is the reign of Satya, which continues from that point onward. A flaming warrior from the eternal field, empowered to forge the door tonight and close, smote from death's visage, is done absolute, and burn the bounds of consciousness and time. I like this line very much, and particularly this phrase, burn the bounds. This B alliteration so quickly gives a kind of a thrust and force, and burn the bounds of consciousness and time, you see.
But death knows has been created by the mother. He knows, no?
Pardon me?
Death is aware that mother created
he is no more there now.
no,
That
but before, when
in other words, the face which he had adopted for a certain purpose in the creation, that part of his work is over, and now a new phase begins from that point onward. He is no more now that Supreme. Yes. Supreme who had taken the face of death for a certain purpose, with a certain logic. That is what we are seeing just now. See, although it looks to us terrible and all that thing, but behind the whole thing, there is a scheme. You see, that Godhead is there, and he has his own logic, reasoning to do all that thing. That Godhead had put on the face of death to promote the possibility, the spirit in this creation in a certain manner up to a certain point. And when that is achieved, when that has been accomplished, then that role is over, and he removes away that mask which he had put on for purpose. So he now revealed to you in the true form of what Yama is, what death is. Actually, the tradition, Yama is the god of death, of law, as we will see here, a god of death, Yama. And he is said to be the son of Vivaswata. Vivaswata is one of the sons of Aditi herself. Vivaswata. Vivaswata is the son of Aditi herself. Vivaswata is his son, Aditya. He is one of the Aditya's son. And his son is Yama in this creation here. Now, it is that Yama now acquires his true Adityahood. What he is, the true son he is, that he becomes now. It's a very difficult job to even consent to do something of this kind of a thing, but Yama took it upon him for a certain purpose, to promote things, promote possibilities. He accepted that condition, you see. He took upon himself the burden of the whole process to carry out certain things in that manner, you see. But now that job is over. In the Rigveda, there is a very beautiful sloka, very descriptive, very powerful also. It says that along with gods, other gods, Yama is sitting under a tree called Supalasha tree, the flame of the forest. Supalasha is the name of the flame of the forest. And the mother significance of that tree is the beginning of supramental realization. Yeah, the beginning of supramental. Those golden orange leaves like that, like a boat, yeah. Under that tree, Yama, along with other gods, is drinking the nectar of immortality. That's the image. He is having a drink with other gods of Amrita, of immortality. So, there is a very great divine aspect in Yama. But when he has taken the position in the inconscience, he looks to you totally different. But now he did not remain that, because the purpose of inconscience is over. And therefore, he is now really enjoying the rasa, the delight, the drink, the soma of immortality, this Yama, you see. And of course, he is doing it with the gods. He wants us also to join him. I hope we'll prepare ourselves to join him. You see, he wants us to join him. Supalasha tree, the beginning of supramental realization. So the mother sees already in that act of Yama the beginning of supramental realization. See, these are the hints of the Vedic cycle, the unfinished story which is there in the Vedic cycle, that Yama is drinking the drink of immortality under this tree, is the unfinished story of this creation. And Savitri has to continue to write a story and bring it to a completion, you see, unfinished story, you see. That is what she is doing here. And therefore, she is now ready, because the divine flaming goddess is in her, and there is the bursting of the bounds of consciousness and time.
Yama should actually invite the Divine Mother, please transform me, please, I don't want to play this role anymore, I want to become again what I...
Well, this is a picture, this is a poetic way of saying, he is not describing. I think we have to really sit down and write a good novel on the basis of this. In the modern language, in the modern style, you see. These are kind of hints suggested here, but they are very pregnant hints, very powerful hints, you see. Very powerful hints. We had to write a story, Savitri story, we had to start writing. Of course, she has already written partly here, you see. Partly here.